Welcome to Talk is Sheep, the official podcast of the Wild Sheep Society of British Columbia. Brought to you by our title sponsor, Mountain Tough Fitness Lab. Come along with us as we take conversations that matter to you into the high alpine. We have partnered with Mountain Tough Fitness Lab to help get you in shape and mentally stronger. Whether you're a veteran hunter or just starting out, the Mountain Tough app will take you to the next level. We personally train using the Mountain Tough programs, and we believe in it so much that we want to give you 6 weeks for free using code SHEEPBC. That's SHEEPBC. Check out Mountain Tough Fitness Lab. You won't be disappointed. This episode is sponsored by our conservation partner, Gunworks. Thank you, Sitka Gear and Gunworks, for investing in healthy wildlife and sustainable ecosystems.
So we're coming in live from the Sheep Show in Reno here. It is beautiful weather out down here in Reno. It was a bit of a travel issues for us Canadians coming down, but Talk of Sheep is live. I'm Peter Gutcha. I'm filling in for Kyle today, and I've got the wise and powerful David Martinez here with me to steal a line from Rogan.
Thanks.
Yeah, but so we've had you on the podcast before. You were chatting with Kyle, and I think Greg was on that one too a little bit.
Yes.
And so happy to have you back here.
Thank you.
So first I'll just start off with it's David Martinez.
Correct.
Can be easily found on Instagram in these mountains. And as a part-time photographer myself, like I just got to say I love your work. I'm not pandering here, but you do great stuff, and
Thanks,
super excited to get a chance to talk to you in person here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
I guess just let's start off. Like this is your, I guess, second or third year coming down to the show now?
Yeah, this is my second year. Last year, 2023, was my first year. Kyle actually was a big contributor to me actually coming down for the first time. So I had no real intention of coming to Sheep Show, and he pretty much came to me. I think it obviously spawned from him seeing my Instagram and stuff like that. And so needless to say, he came to me on the side and was like, hey, look, would you consider coming to Sheep Show? And I had really no intention, but at the same time, it was like probably the group of people that I should be around, So he pretty much said, okay, he's like, if you're willing, he's like, let me see what I can do. Cause all the, based on my understanding at the time, all the booths were purchased or no longer open for sale. And so he was like, well, let me see what I can do. And he pretty much spoke to a couple people, I think Gray obviously being one of them, and said, hey, we need to get him down here. He needs to have a booth. And I didn't even know what I was going to do. Like, I wasn't really planning on, like, selling anything. And it just kind of, I was just, he just wanted me to come out there and, bring all my stuff. And I just said, okay. But, yeah, I mean, so if it hadn't been for him obviously digging around and doing some work, he came back to me and said, hey, I can get you a booth. Yeah. Do you want it? And I said, absolutely. Awesome. So did that the first time and definitely learned a lot. But I will say that I didn't sell anything. But what I did, it moved me in a whole different direction, and it moved me more into my videography world than it is for pictures. You know what I mean? And it moved me in a better way. Selling pictures is hard, let me tell you. Okay, it is hard. But coming here and, accepting that offer from him pushed me in a direction that actually was the better, at least for me, was the better of the two.
Yeah. So you've now launched into this videography stuff. What are you doing as far as that goes?
So, so the videography grew, obviously with filming hunts is kind of how it not really got started. I was already kind of like dabbling in the videography stuff, but it was the filming the hunts that really started to spark this, like, oh, maybe I should do more in the film stuff than like trying to take pictures all the time. And so I think that, that me coming here pushed it in that direction, and now I'm pretty much doing stuff for, I do contracts for Animal Planet, National Geographic. The bighorn sheep is a me thing. Like nobody really purchases it nobody really buys it. Everybody just likes to look at it, and that's, kind of just where it's at. And I'm good with that. It's just like I said, the sheep is a me thing. Nobody pays for it. Nobody, everything that I do on my Instagram page, whether, I'm flying in helicopters to go places to see sheep and to get out into those more remote places to find sheep. That's all out of my pocket, man. You know what I mean? So it's strictly like a passion of mine. Now, that passion has obviously caused the growth of other opportunities, obviously, like Nat Geo or Animal Planet, or, those contracts, being made attainable to me. Obviously, the sheep footage pushed it in that direction. So it's kind of like one of those things where it's like I have to keep feeding it because I know that it's making me a living. It's now essentially, when I came to Sheep Show last year, I ran a construction company. I owned a construction company in Bozeman, Montana for a while. And I was pretty much working and then doing the photography and videography whenever I had the opportunity. So now being like, this is all I do. I pretty much stopped construction. I got tired of working in negative 10 degrees and trying to frame a house up and stuff like that. And so one day I'll never forget it. It was just after Sheep Show last year. It was like beginning of February, and I came home and I went to my wife and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I've always done construction outside of the Marine Corps. Construction has always been my fallback. You know what I mean? If I need money or whatever. And I pretty much went to her and I was like, I have to dive into this. I got to go full force, or, I'm tired of smashing my hands. You know what I mean? I'm tired of being outside for 8-9 hours a day, in all manners of weather that the earth can throw at Montana. You know what I mean? It's just I'm tired, And so she just kind of said, okay, let's just see what happens, And I said, okay. And I just dove into it, and that was literally just after Sheep Show. And I think obviously that kind of was like a deciding factor, all of the traction that I gained when I was here for my first Sheep Show. That was kind of okay, look, I got good opportunities. I'm just going to go for it, And I'm glad I did, though. But, again, like I said, between then and now, it's what I do for a living. But it is a passion of mine.
Yeah. That's so awesome. I know. I'm an electrician myself, and have done the same kind of thing where I've just stepped aside from that, got sick and tired of it, and it's like
you can only do it for so long. You know what I mean? It's like, how long do I have to do this?
When it's just a job, right? It's not a passion, right?
Yeah.
It's a different thing, right? When
totally.
You can jump into something that you truly love doing, right?
Yeah.
You just even though it's work technically, never feels like work, right? And
100. That's funny you say that. I think of the times where I'm out in the woods and whether I'm hiking or something, and I'm tired, beat down, sweating, cold, or whatever the case may be. But again, like you said, because it being a passion, it's not really work. You know what I mean? I am 100% enjoying what I'm doing, and I know that what I'm doing is feeding into this bigger, opportunity, for feeding into other opportunities that will make themselves, presented to me when the time comes because of me doing this. So it's like, I know good's coming out of it, even though I'm struggling sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I feel like I don't really do anything professional on the photography side of things, but I know whenever I'm out there, just hanging out with animals, it's just this is the best. This is the best time spent ever. It could be snowing or raining, wind, whatever, don't matter.
I love that feeling of just being out there. Obviously that is the reason. That's the reason why I really got into sheep, was because I always found that in order to find and go to the places where there's sheep, I very rarely run into people, if not ever. I'll be honest with you. There's only one spot that I can think of where I have ever ran into somebody, and it was one person one time. And, that's the one thing about it that I enjoy the most is the solitude of it. I'm not around anybody. There's not 50 cars with 50 photographers hanging out. Nothing against that, obviously, but for me, this is also it's like a peace journey as well, because of, my past and the Marine Corps and all that kind of stuff, which just, ruined a lot of my life and caused a lot of pain throughout my life. Being out in the woods this way has become also this like healing journey in my life of just being in a tranquil state, and it's like, do you have any kids?
Yeah, I got 2.
Okay, great. Okay, I have 3. Okay, so you know how sometimes when you have kids and they're constantly loud, yelling, playing, whatever they're doing, and then for some reason, I only bring up a car because this just happened to me the other day. But you get in the car and you just don't turn anything on because it's the silence of the car.
Appreciate the quiet.
It's just like just absolute silence. Like all you hear is just the sound of the air and the road. You know what I mean, kind of a thing. And that is kind of what my journey with filming and filming and taking pictures of bighorn sheep. It's become this like journey of like the noise of my life, which has not always been a very positive thing. Again, being positive, I mean like through the Marine Corps and my time in combat and stuff like that. This has become like that when you get in the car and it's like the silence of the moment. It's like, you can like hear yourself. You can like focus on whatever it is that you're thinking about and like just enjoy the solitude of it. That's what it's become for me.
That's awesome, man. That's to me, there's no better time spent than out in the field, right, where you're just quiet and hang out with some animals and notice the things that you never notice otherwise, right?
100%. 100%.
That's so cool. So I want to touch back on your videography stuff right now. So you mentioned you're doing stuff with Animal Planet, Nat Geo, and then doing hunt filming and stuff too. Do you find that you're kind of it's similar to the photography side of things, where you're really like, probably not for the hunting filming portion, but for doing stuff for Nat Geo and whatnot, like you're really kind of out there chasing are you chasing a certain shot, I guess, or are you kind of, it's more like I want to go and try to just be out with these animals for a time period and just see whatever happens?
Okay, so typically the way the contracts come to me is they come to me with like an expectation. And what I mean by an expectation is like, hey, we're looking for this. We want a side shot, front profile, walking, ass shot, whatever it is that they're asking for based on however the story unfolds into the story that they're creating. Although based on my understanding, a lot of the stuff that I do is used for like YouTube commercials and ads and stuff like that. But needless to say, I usually go out there. If I'm not going for sheep, I'm going out there with a purpose, for sure. There's a complete like, okay, I need to do this, and I need to get this shot, and this shot, because it does pay. So it's like, you go to get the shots, you turn them in, you wait like a week or two, and you get paid. So there's also a little bit of like, okay, let's hurry up and do it, kind of a thing. But it's kind of, it's very much going there with a purpose. Now, when I'm going for sheep, man, I just go. Like I pack some food up, I put my boots on and I'm obviously prepared the night before, and it's totally just like, I think they're in this direction, so I'm going to walk that way, but I don't know that they are. And, and there's, like I said in the previous podcast, there's times where I'll walk out there, I'll be 10, 12 miles deep. Or round trip. Let's say 6-7 miles in.
Crickets.
And never find them, and just be like, okay, well, that was just a great day walking in the woods, which is fine by me. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm totally good with that. That's a part of the enjoyment of this. Is like, again, like you said, just being outside. So there's times where you get out there and there's nothing there, like you said, crickets, and you're just like, okay, well, turn around and stumble across a good shed or something, strap it up. And dude, the last time I went, man, I came back with I didn't see no sheep. So I came back with these 2 really nice 330, 350 elk sheds.
Chalk that up as a win still, right? Like,
Oh man, like, hey man, you walk back with 2 big old sheds, and I got a whole story for that one, because that was a situation. But needless to say, so there's always a plus side to doing it, even if I'm not always seeing sheep.
No, I hear that. That's that's awesome. I think whenever you're outside, right, it's always that you don't know what's going to come, right? And so you just mentioned there with like, I didn't see sheep this day, but found these sweet elk sheds, right? And it's like, that's just, that wasn't on my radar for today, but here it is. It's a gift from the gods or whatever, right?
From the outdoor gods.
And you're like, that's 100%. An awesome thing. And maybe I learned something else while I was doing it. I learned that, hey, sheep aren't over on this spot that I thought they might be, or maybe it was because of the weather conditions or whatever. All these factors that come in, and right, you're constantly learning when you go out there, and it's part of the. It's the same as like when you're hunting, right? Like if you don't want to go out, like it's 100%. Not as fun when you know what's gonna happen that day, right? It's like it's.
Yes, and that's kind of how I got into the sheep thing, was because of I mean, obviously me being a hunter, but I mean, it was, hunting season ended, and it was like, I'm bored. Like, what am I gonna do? And I mean, I do ski, but I mean, I'm not always wanting to, be outside when it's -10, like. Looking for sheep. That's hard work. I mean, it's really hard. And I've done it a few times and realized that it was, it was a fool's errand. You know what I mean? And so I've learned from my mistakes. But, having like you said, the hunting is having something to do after hunting season is kind of how this, flared up in my life. It was just like, I'm bored. The weather is like. I'll 30, 40 degrees, 35, 20, 15, like I'll stumble around the woods in that with the proper, with the proper attire. But I mean, it's like just looking for something to do and looking for sheep in the way that I look for sheep is contributed to hunting. You know what I mean? It's the same concept. I literally put, when I said that I was going to, I remember sitting down in my living room and thinking to myself, I want to shoot bighorn sheep. But I only want to do it a certain way, because if I don't do it this way, to me it just doesn't have the same feeling that I'm looking for. You know what I mean? In the way in photography. Now I know photography is not a rifle, photography is not a bow, but I would contribute using a camera to using a bow. Yep. You have to get close. And people see that huge lens that I carry and they think like, oh man, this dude's taking shots from a half a mile away. Like, people have such a bad misconception of camera lenses. They see this huge lens and they're just like, oh, you could see.
Probably comparing it to their spotting scope, right? They're like, oh, it's way bigger than my spotting scope, and that's 50 power, 60 power, whatever it is. It's like, it's not the same.
Exactly. And when I know. And then you tell them, like, you have to factor in, like, image quality. You know what I mean? Like, this is a whole different game, And especially when, taking a picture of something, just because you have a great lens, if you're still taking a picture far away, it's still not going to look great. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with it, And so, again, I have these people that, have a slight misconception of it. And it's just one of those things where, it's, I'm just trying to think of I'm thinking of the right way to put it together.
No, I think it's like you mentioned, like the bow, comparing it to bow hunting, and I think that's super accurate. Like I don't have any 600 mil lens or anything in my repertoire, but like I know, like I got to be 20 yards, give or take. Like that's it's got to be in
give or take. Yeah, and that's what I was trying to like. It's like when you put the two types together, you realize that they're a lot alike, and having that kind of concept when I started doing it was the way that I said to myself, this is how it has to be done. For me to get the same kind of satisfaction out of it, I have to do it this way, and like I said, when I was trying to think of like putting the two together, that was the only way in my head that I could make those two connect the way that I wanted them to. Because living in Montana, especially where I live at, I'm from Bozeman, and so I got Yellowstone is 45 minutes away, hour and 20 minutes away, depending on which way you're going. There's sheep everywhere, man. Like there's bighorn sheep like right off the side of the road, and so having those kinds of opportunities, but it's just not the way that I want to do it.
I know, like where I live in Penticton, we've got sheep kind of right in town, but then you can also go up into the mountains and go look for sheep too, right? And it's a different thing, right? There's some sheep that are like totally used to a ton of humans. They're essentially domestic, even though they're wild, right? And it's like it's cool to go and sit with those sheep from time to time, for sure. Don't get me wrong, but there's no challenge in it the same way as like if I'm gonna go try to sneak in on some wild animal, like I gotta be thinking like a hunter, right? I got to be thinking about the wind. I got to be
100%.
Considering all my movements, the speed at which
yeah.
I'm moving, all these different things, right? They factor into it, and it makes it it makes it more challenging for starters. And I think it just
absolutely.
It's personal at that point, right? You're like, okay, this is all on me. I gotta, if I want to get this thing, and it's a job for you, right? So it's like, if I want to be successful at my job, I gotta be like really dialed here, and then that the challenge is, I think, something that probably keeps coming back to, right?
That's exactly, and it's like you said, it's this where there's okay. This is funny that you're saying this. The other day, I was reading I was reading about people who can have an addictive personality, right? And they said one of the things that is like one of the main factors that can make somebody very addicted to something is not having success when they do it, but when they do it and they get the success out of it, it's
lightning
like
bolt
amazing.
strike, right? You're like,
yeah. But you only get it for a second, and so that's really what sheep is like.
Chasing that feeling.
For me, it's this. Yeah, it's like, because there's days where I go out there, man, and I never see him. Or like, for instance, this year with the rut, I was like, I was adamant on making sure that I was there for the rut to just capture as much of it as possible. Man, I caught like maybe a full day's worth, out of all of the time that I spent. I mean, I'm talking hours. I mean, just miles and miles. I think I put down, I have to look at my watch, but I'm pretty sure I put down like 170 miles or something just in November. And I mean, just hours of sitting and waiting and like just sitting there, literally just sitting there. You know what I mean? Like cameras on my lap, and I'm just like leaning back on my pack, sitting there chewing on my freaking, chewing on my trail mix or whatever it was, and, just waiting for them to, like, get mad at each other. And, finally it happened one time, and, like, the footage that I have is from one day. That's it. And finally one day I'm sitting there, and it was probably about 8, 9 in the morning, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, like, they're kind of like, they're kind of just, gurgling at each other and growling at each other, and, they're, doing their kicks. They're, kicking each other and doing, their, like, preliminary, like, feeling each other out. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. So I'm like, I'm ready. I got batteries. I got multiple cards. Like, I am catching every moment that I can. And so, man, finally they just, like, they're just, 2 or 3 of them are just kind of like, bumping around. And, man, finally they just let loose. And they went for hours. I was there. I mean, I was filming it from at least like 9 until pretty much it was dark. Like I told myself, I have everything I need. I know exactly where I'm going if I'm walking back at night, which is not a typical thing that I do, especially because the time of the year, the bears are still kind of walking around, and, they are starting to hibernate. But I mean, this year was kind of weird because the winter, at least in Montana, was
super warm
really
in British Columbia there too, or you're just not getting the typical.
Yeah, man, no snow. The weather is just odd. So I'm thinking in my head, like, this one time I guess I'm going to have to risk it because there's no way I'm going to walk away from it. And, man, they went on until, I mean, it was dark.
Yeah.
I mean, it was dark. And I was, like, walking away, and still, like, every 5 minutes or so, be walking in the woods and just hear in the back, like, way out in the distance, and I'm just like, damn, they're still going at it. Like, and it's dark outside. But that was the only day that I caught it. And, man, I spent so much time and effort. And so, like saying, going back to that addictiveness of it, you know what I mean? And hunting is obviously the same way, you know what I mean? It's like you go out there, you try to, I mean, for those people that ever try to bow an elk, like,
you betcha.
Yeah, that's hard work. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's hard work. So it's something that you definitely have to. That enjoyment out of it is like, oh man, you get close, the elk comes in, you see him, maybe you draw, you don't, I don't know, but it's like you get that little gram of euphoria seeing that animal finally come in, or you get close to it, or whatever the case may be. Oh yeah, you're gonna be addicted.
Comparing it to elk, there, like, man, when you hear, I know for me it was like when I heard my first bugle, like that was like, within 100 yards, you're just like, oh man, this thing is thing is loud and it is pissed off or it's horny, one or the other, right? But it's just like, this is happening. This is a different thing. Yeah.
This guy's coming in hot. Yeah. I know. It's elk. I mean, on the side of, not talking about sheep, but elk for me is.
Oh, a lot of guys are the same way, right? They're a pretty cool creature for that.
Yeah. Elk are where it's at. But yeah. So
we could chat about it all. It's all we're here at Wild Sheep, but we're a conservation organization at the Sheep Society here, right? And we're sheep focused, but we work on projects that are affecting elk and goats and any other mountain critter that kind of shares that land with the sheep. So that's super cool. What do you do in like hunt filming? Is that more just like working with brands, or is that working with an individual hunter that just wants to have their thing documented?
So the hunt filming has kind of just been more of, I get a lot of people obviously through Instagram. They're like, hey, I got a hunt I booked with such and such outfitter. Would you consider, filming it? I give them the rates, and, it's pretty, I mean, I get them all year round. I mean, it's just obviously people see my Instagram. They're just like, hey,
you betcha.
See if that guy will do it, And most of the guys that, typically when you have these guys that are purchasing these hunts, these are like once in a lifetime hunts. You know what I mean? Or like something that, there's like they put some coin down on. So, they see me and they're like, okay, I want to get this filmed, this, as best I can,
preserve the memories and
this guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I mean, I come in with, drone work, drones, my camera, POV type cameras, and I kind of just, it depends on what the person is using it for, but anything from a minute to like 15-minute documentary style, where like we're sitting down having a conversation and he's talking to me and telling me stuff about whatever it is that pertains to whatever we're hunting, and how it might pertain to the story, because essentially at that point 15 minutes is like a story. Like you got to like pretty much sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to cut in all my scenes here, we need to talk about this, you know what I mean? It's pretty much like like a short movie. So but yeah, so typically for me it's really just people just coming to me directly. They already have everything set up, but they're just like, hey, like it's getting close, and like I've been thinking about it, and now I'm like, okay, I definitely want to get this filmed by someone, because, this is like the one thing that I spend a ton of money on, and I want to remember this. So, what, would you be, and I'm like, hey, man, as long as you pay for the plane ticket and the place to sleep,
make it happen.
I'm good to
go. That's pretty cool. Probably takes you to some neat spots and meet some cool people, too, along the way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been Mexico, Alaska, BC, obviously in the States as well. I get a ton of people that want to do stuff with deer, which I'm totally good with. It's just, I mean, obviously bighorn sheep is kind of a 1 in a million type thing, so it doesn't happen very often. But all of the, stone, doll, desert, those sheep that they pretty much can be purchased at a
more approachable,
more approachable price
than
a Rocky Mountain Bighorn.
That's super cool. I think it's neat that it's something that getting your hunt filmed is probably easier to do today than it ever has been in the past, right? And just with camera gear getting better and better and lighter, and having guys like yourself that are in this market now that are doing this stuff, right? And guys that are they're spending money on, like they've always done in the past, right? And used to bring your little one camera with you and take a roll of film, and that was what you had, But now it's like, wow, you can actually take all the stuff. You can do photos, you can do video, you can
literally by switching a button. Like you don't even got to swap cameras.
Super. I think it's cool to see that more people are doing that, and I think it's something that even more people should do personally. I think it's just a great way to preserve your memories and share them with family and friends. And
Totally. And then you have like the cell phone.
Cheat code.
Like man, even more. I mean, granted, it doesn't look as good as like an actual full frame camera, but I mean, for most people, it's good enough. You know what I mean? Like unless you're planning on like, doing a movie or something, or like maybe, showing it at a movie theater or have like some screening for it. Cell phone is pretty darn good unless you're wanting some like, music and editing and color grading and stuff like that. But it's definitely opened the doors for sure in the sense of meeting people, new opportunities, like I said, and I'm being a hunter myself, I feel like I enjoy capturing those moments for people, I try to make it like, okay, how would I feel seeing it, when I film it? So I try to, good music, good, good lighting, good composure of, what we're looking at. And I want you to feel the drama of it. I mean, obviously most people have seen my Instagram and they can probably realize that, at least when it comes to filming stuff, he's kind of a dramatic guy, you know what I mean? Like dramatic music and, the feeling is dramatic and like, I have like this Christopher Nolan, Mel Gibson, Braveheart type, like feeling, like when I watch film, that's how I feel. It's just, that's how it captures me. I've always been good with like, okay, I'll say it like this. I've always liked movies. Grew up watching movies, loving movies, anything to do movie-wise I was always about, as very young. But it was the drama stuff that pulled me in. You know what I mean? The music, The Godfather, Saving Private Ryan, Braveheart, Gladiator. Those kinds of movies to me they were very much a precursor to the way that I view my own filming or whatever it is that I do in my own little world. And it obviously could. I mean, but that's how I feel when I see sheep. I just feel that. Like, it's dramatic. They live in these places deep up in the mountains. I get these slow-mo shots of, the snow, just going across their face. Like, that's how they feel, and that's how they are in real life. They're not like some, dumb animal just like bumping into trees. You know what I mean? Like, if you've ever seen a bighorn sheep like move around, he moves with power. You know what I mean? Like, he walks like he has.
And they do. Yeah.
And they do, exactly. You know what I mean? He's there, especially like, filming them when they're not rutting. You really see how much they change between each other. And so I'm actually in the middle of making a very short documentary about bighorn sheep. It's going to be on YouTube and all that. It's coming pretty soon. But like a full-fledged documentary. And I touch base with the way they are through, let's just say, like after the rut. Let's say like, March, April, May timeframe. And then up into, the rut, November, end of October, November, December timeframe. And like, you really see how much they change between that time of the year. They're hanging out, they're super skinny. I mean, even Rocky Mountain bighorns being the biggest of the species, like,
oh, you betcha, they can look pretty ratty by the time winter's all done.
Yeah, man. I mean, they're just like, skinny and, very, very, that bachelor group of them just like hanging out. They're very friendly, laying on each other. I mean, it's funny, being out where I go and see sheep, and all the places that I go to, I see how a lot of them are different. And, there's a group of them that really have this thing with like laying on each other. And I really don't see it in any other groups, but just this one group specifically that I go see, they like really lay on each other. But so you really see this where as, that time of the year moves more and more towards the rut, I can physically, I can see the physical changes, in them. Just, the neck size, the shoulders get more stout, obviously with the amount of testosterone that's flowing, like, and they're just when they're in full rut and you see a bighorn walk around like a big
ripped.
guy.
They're like warrior mode.
It's all power, man. It's all power. And it's amazing because like I will sit there and look at pictures from like one time of the year to like another time of the year.
Yeah, same sheep looks completely different.
It's mind blowing. Same sheep, completely different animal. Like literally looks like a completely different sheep. And but like you said, it's like just total power mode. You know what I mean? It's like all of a sudden you see this animal, like I said, and going back to the drama. It's like when people see them, that's what I want them to see. You know what I mean? It's like I want them to see this animal that just lives on this godforsaken mountain, you know, at the top, far away from people, you know, in the harsh environment of, you know, whatever the mountains is throwing at it, and it's just this big burly tank. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to display. That's the drama of the movies and all that. That's what I'm trying to give people. Man. Yeah, it has to. It's like I've sat there before, and you know, I look at a video and I have a song or you know, a clip for it or something like that, and it's just, you know, sometimes you just want to have fun, you know, make it easy. Because I'll be honest, I mean, Instagram it's a tad annoying. You know what I mean? It's definitely what's the word? It's a burden. And then it's not, because it's how I make a living. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't like the social media aspect of it, but it's like I have to, you know? And so sometimes you get lazy, and I'll be sitting there, and I'm like, no, that song just don't cut it. You know what I mean? It's just sometimes I want to be lazy and just throw anything up. You know what I mean? But it's in the end, I feel like no matter what, I have to have this, because it's not really about me. Yep. It has nothing to do with me. You betcha. The page is about the sheep. You know, and it's like, and if in every post I'm not pushing that message across, then don't post it. You know, at least that's how I feel about it. You know, and it has.
I think
to
you do an incredible job of it. I know I'm a fan, man, and it's like it's super.
Yeah,
nice. I love nature and I love wildlife, and so when I see someone that's putting out like quality work on something, it's just like every time I see something new, I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, like sweet, some sweet new picture or some slow mo, like you mentioned earlier, like the snow flying across sideways. I'm just like, man, I go out and look at them, you know, in real life like that. But when you can capture it with quality gear, and when you know the person behind the camera knows what they're doing,
100%.
Like it looks incredible, right? And you like I always go back to like the BBC Earth documentaries and stuff like that, the Blue Planet and Planet Earth and all that. And I'm just like, I love this stuff so much. It's so cool just to watch wildlife doing its thing, and I think again you just.
I grew up. So I don't know if you remember. People listening might remember, but Wild America with Marty Stauffer. Man, I grew up watching that kind of stuff. And so, again, it's like this, my life in the sense of like watching TV and film or whatever it was, you know what I mean? It always was kind of in that direction, you know? It was always kind of that way. And it's just, it came natural. Like in the sense of the way I put everything together was just very like, oh, this is great. And I love doing stuff like that anyways. Even before filming sheep, like my time in the Marine Corps, you know, I always had a camera, you know, some little point and shoot camera. You know, in the Marine Corps, especially during the beginning of the Marine Corps, like GoPro wasn't a thing yet. You know what I mean? So I had like an actual camera. As a matter of fact, like, so one of my cameras that I used for a long time was like a little Canon, like a point and shoot, you know what I mean, camera. But what I did was I took a grenade pouch and I cut a hole in it, and then put the camera inside of the grenade pouch, and then like close the grenade pouch top, and like that's how, because you know, like I said, GoPro wasn't a thing, so like trying to catch first person stuff was
Chest Mountain before Chest Mountain was a thing.
Chest Mountain before Chest Mountain, man. Like it was. I mean, I'm like sitting there cutting a hole in a grenade pouch, and they're like, "Dude, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, why are you cutting a hole in it?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm trying to stuff my camera in it," and then, you know, catching footage that was like intense footage. You know what I mean? And like being like, you know, and then everybody's like, wait a minute, you know, like, what camera? How did you do it? You know, I want to try that too, you know. But before, like I said, before doing stuff for sheep, it was, you know, I was already kind of, I had clips of me in combat with some cool music in the background, or you know, family stuff where I'm like making clips and like these little reels, I guess if you want to call them, collage type stuff of like my family snowboarding or skiing or, you know, stuff like that. So I was always doing stuff like that before the sheep thing. It's just when I seen the sheep for the first time, I remember just being like, fuck, that's a badass animal right there. That's a bad mamma jamma. Like, I seen it and I was struck. I was actually driving into work to Big Sky in Montana, and right there on the 191, there's a lot of bighorn sheep that come around, and especially during the spring, and then during like deep winter, they come off the mountains and they're coming down low, getting the salt off the streets and stuff like that. And so I remember the first time I seen one, man. I was just pulling up at this road, and man, he's just standing there. He wasn't big, but it to my perception then, he was big, to me then. And so I pulled up, and dude, I mean, he's just like, staring at me like, blowing this like hot air out. I was struck, man. I was starstruck. It was just like, and hunting season had just ended. I'm like, fuck. Like, that is a badass animal. Like, that is so cool. I wish I could see more of them. And then, it rolled into, me telling my wife, like, I want to get a camera. I want to do this, and her, okay, well, go for it. And like, purchasing stuff off Craigslist and, but eventually, when you get the quality gear, like you said, then that's when people started to notice. Like, it wasn't like, it wasn't a hobby anymore. People like, I got, Nat Geo or Discovery in my DM, like, hey, would you ever consider, having a Zoom call with us, such and such? We got some opportunities that maybe you'd like to be a part of, especially with your location. I live in a really good place for doing what I do. It's just undeniable. So, once the gear upgraded, that's when it was apparent to everybody that they were like, oh,
dude knows what he's doing, and
like he's trying to, like he's actually like, and here, I didn't go to school for any of it. I mean, it was just all self-taught, a bunch of YouTube and books. I have a shit ton of books, of like digital photography for dummies and, National Geographic's, wildlife photography guide. And, and I sit there and I remember just kind of, scrolling and learning. And it's all, it's taking time though. I've been doing photography now for a couple of years. And, I would say within the last maybe 2 years, have I really been able to like hone in my craft, you know what I mean? And like figure out a style and understand how the camera works, actually be like.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like you're getting your reps in, right? You've got them in now, and now it's probably using that camera as like it's an extension of you, right? You're kind of like, I don't have to look at things. I can literally just click, and I know this, up, down, left, right, whatever it is. And
like I can literally look. So I do everything in manual. So I literally have like presets on my camera. By the way, everybody that's listening, I have an R5. So I have presets in the camera, and I mean, I can pretty much look outside and be like,
need to be here.
Okay, you need to be somewhere in this direction. So I'll like kind of set it, and it's. Yeah, man, it's gotten pretty spot on. I've been pretty good at it. Like I can sit there and maybe I'm a shutter speed off or so, or whatever the case may be, but I can pretty much nail it at this point. And it's like you said, an extension. Like where now it's just and I have so much content that now I'm more particular about what I'm capturing. I'm not just like going out and like, oh yeah, let me get him walking through the grass. I have so much walking through the grass in all frames of the year. Snow, rain, summer, cloudy days, I have it all. So like now, as the time has progressed, now I've been more like, okay, I want this shot, and that's why, like I was saying earlier, being my time spent in the woods this year during the rut was because it was like, okay, I don't really need anything else. I want rut stuff, I want rut behavior, whether they're, kicking each other, bumping heads, moving one off one bed, and and onto another, like the whole structure of the way that they do what they do during the rut. That's what I was focused on. So I was very much, like I said, I was kind of sitting a lot,
sitting and waiting.
I'd get my miles in, I'd get my miles in, and then just wait. My wife's texting me or hitting me up on my Garmin Messenger and. Like, what are you doing out there again? Like, and anything? Nope. Like, oh my God, and then she's getting like, okay, dude. Like, at some point, when do you plan on stopping? And I'm just like, I can't fucking stop. Like, I have to try to get this. If anybody should have this kind of footage, it should be me. You know what I mean? With at least with the amount of I don't want to say responsibility, but like I feel like that. You know, like I feel like it's my responsibility as being in these mountains, you know, as being a bighorn sheep videographer or whatever you want to call it, you know, I feel like it's my responsibility to have that kind of content, because I get stuff like that from people all the time, in the sense of, you know, hey, we have, you know, we want to throw a clip in for this, and we want this shot. Like, they come to me now as kind of like a director.
We know David's probably got something here, and we want to.
Yeah, so let's go ask him, you know. So that's why I'm saying, like, it was like there's this part of responsibility in that in me, that in order to, again, progress forward and, like, be able to make money doing what I do, I have to have sheep content, you know. And so it's become this thing now, like I said, where people do come to me now and they're just like, hey, we have a tequila brand. That's the one I'm thinking of right now. I'm literally just talking to this guy right now. Hey, we have a tequila brand, and we'd like to put something down on our landing page, you know, when you come to our website. Do you have any shots of, like, you know, sheep, you know, near water or you know, walking through grass or anything, obviously, of them headbutting? That's always the one, you know. And I'm so anal about what I shoot that if it don't look good, it doesn't get used. You know what I mean? Like, I don't just use anything. Like, it has to be a good shot, you know. It can't be, you know, it can't just be wobbly. It can't be all jittery. Like, it needs to be a good panning shot, you know, panning, stationary, whatever. It needs to be a good shot through and through. So for the longest time, my folder for all of that stuff was very slim. You know what I mean? It was like maybe 2 or 3 good ones, and that was it. But this year, for that hour, or for those 8-9 hours, I made up for it pretty good. But
yeah, that must have been a special day. Like, it was to be part of that, for even for just one day, or part of one day, right? It's just like they're doing their thing, and that's the motions they go through every year, right? But those moments truly are special, right? And a lot of different animals do it in different ways, but sheep do it a pretty.
Man, they do it the best way. It's the best way. I mean, I don't like. Yeah, I've had discussions with people, like, you know, when you compare the way other animals rut, you know, I mean, elk are big animals, and, like, you know, but the sheer force.
The ripple, right? The ripple through the whole body when that's like those horns clash, and it's just like you just see the shockwave going through their body.
Yeah, the hair flying, there's spit going everywhere. I mean, it is like an actual, you know, I mean, it's. Like I said, you know, like elk, it's just, you know, it's this rustling, moving around, and, you know, there's not so much like force, like full initial force of two objects colliding together and literally stopping each other in their tracks. And that's the one thing about it. Like, when I watch some of those videos of them hitting, like, one will be full running, standing on his legs, full up, and, like, you know, he's coming in hot. He's coming in to, like, crack some keratin, you know what I mean? And then the other one will maybe not be running, but, like, moving at a hasty pace, and they hit each other and literally stop each other in complete motion, you know? And like, when if you ever get to experience that and, like, see it up front, you know, from, you know, I have iPhone footage, like, I'm standing like 10 feet away from me and then doing it, and it's just it's mind-blowing. The sound, feeling the percussion, you know, it's on a whole nother level than any other North American animal, at least in my own opinion. I don't think any other one can really. It doesn't really have that kind of badassery. I mean, elk are cool. Don't get me wrong. I love my elk, but I mean, like, when you talk about the sheer power of the rut, I mean, I think the bighorn sheep rut is just.
Dude, I couldn't have said it any better myself, and I think that's probably a pretty wicked spot to kind of wrap this thing up, you know, and so, man, I just want to say kudos to you for chasing your dreams, you know, and putting the hammer down and picking up the camera, man. I think that's
awesome.
That's a takeaway for anybody that's listening to this, right? Is like, follow your dreams, like follow your passions, work at something just you love working at, and you're probably going to enjoy life a whole lot more than you did before, right?
Man, let me tell you right now, you will enjoy it if you're happy. That's like the one parable that will always live. You know, it's if you're happy doing what you're doing, you're going to
Beautiful, man. I want to thank you for your time today.
Awesome.
It was great to talk to you in person here, meet you, and get to just talk about wild sheep. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Mountain Tough is our official sponsor of the Talk of Sheep podcast. So thank you to those boys for supporting us. We truly appreciate it. We're going to get back to sheep shenanigans here at Sheep Week 2024, and we'll catch you on the next episode.